Mahabharata, Chapter 6, Enter Karna, read by Nirvan Bajaj. Mahabharata, Chapter 6, Enter Karna. Ved Vyasa's epic on the Bharat race was first recited in public by his disciple Vaishampayan at the behest of the ageless seer Vyasa himself. The recital took place in the august presence of King Janamjay, who was the great grandson of the grandson of Vyasa, and the many learned sages who had assembled for Janamjay's Sarpasatra. The fifth session of our rendering of Vaishampayan's recital of Vyasa's Mahabharata spoke of how Drona, scorned by Drupada the king of Panchal, came to Hastinapur, and of how Bhishma appointed him Guru of the princes, and of how Arjuna, by his prowess in arms, became the Guru's favourite. Vaishampayan then continued, O monarch, when Drona knew that the sons of Dhritarashtra and Pandu had mastered the martial arts, he addressed the blind king in the presence of Bhishma, Vidur, other Kuru elders, and Kripa, and said, O king of the Kurus, the princes have completed their course of studies. They shall exhibit their skills at your command. The king, pleased to hear this, said, You have achieved a noble task. Now you choose the time and the place for the tournament. My heart, heavy with blindness, longs to see the valorous deed of my children, as those blessed with sight would be doing. Wise Vidur, let preparations be made as Drona would have them, and I shall be pleased. Drona measured out a piece of suitable land and had it sanctified at an auspicious time. There the craftsmen built pavilions for the royalty, and wealthy citizens had tents pitched for themselves. On the day of the tournament, the king made his entry accompanied by Bhishma, Kripa, and the retinue of ministers. Then came Gandhari and Kunti and other imperial women with their retinue of maids. And men and women of diverse stations and orders, eager to witness the feats of the princes, thronged the spot till in a short while there gathered a vast assembly. Then Drona, clad in white, entered the arena accompanied by his son Ashwadhama. After Drona had conducted the act of consecration, some men carrying weapons made their entry. And then those magnificent princes came up in order of age with Yudhishthira at their head. Even as they displayed their equestrian skills, the princes hit targets with arrows that carried their names, and the spectators exclaimed, Well done! Well done! Progressively, the princes exhibited their skills in archery, in chariot rallies, in fights, astride elephants and horses, and in free-hand combat. Last of all, they displayed their sportsmanship. With the sword and the buckler, O monarch, they revealed through well-wrought bodies their firm stance, strong grip, and nimble turns. And then the constant rivals Bhima, and Duryodhana moved into the arena. They fought, moving now to the left, now to the right, now in a circle and now all over, like two enraged elephants, and Vidur described each move to Dhritarashtra and Kunti to Gandhari. The fight between the two split the crowds. Some cheered one, some the other. Hail Duryodhana! Hail Bhim! And perceiving this, the clever Drona said to his son, Stop the two brave fighters, lest the crowd should get intoxicated by partisan spirits. Ashwadhama rushed into the arena and restrained the two warriors. Then Drona came into the arena and, ordering the music to be stopped, said in a ringing voice, Here comes Arjuna, who is dearer to me than my son. He is the son of Indra, is supreme in all martial arts, and is equal to Vishnu in valor. Having invoked divine grace, Arjuna, clad in golden coat of mail, stood like a cloud set ablaze by the evening sun. The delighted crowd hailed him, exclaiming, This is the son of Kunti! This is the third Pandav! This is the mighty son of Indra! He is the redeemer of the Kurus. These loud exclamations brought tears of joy to Kunti's eyes and made Dhritarashtra inquire of Vidur, Why this great uproar? Vidur replied, Arjun, the son of Pandu, has entered the lists. And the Dhritarashtra said, the three flaming suns sprung from the sacred fuel that is Kunti bring me luck, elation, and protection. Once the excitement of the crowd had subsided, Arjun began to display his resilience to his guru. With the Agniya missile, he started a fire, and by the Varun missile, a column of water, and by the Vayavya missile, he brought forth a gale of wind, and by the Parjanya missile, cloud. And by the Parvat missile, he set up mountains, and by the Bhauma missile, he entered into the earth. Then, with the Antardhan missile, he made himself invisible. For a split second, he made himself tall, and then the next instant shot. Now he was on the yoke of the chariot, now inside the chariot, and the next he was on the ground. He let fly 5 oars simultaneously into the mouth of a revolving iron boar, and found the mark for 21 arrows of his flying arrows in one shot in the hollow of a swinging horn. Then Arjun exhibited all the complex moves in sword fighting with the mace and the sword. When the events were almost over, when the interest had waned and when the music was stilled, there came from the gates the sound of slapping of arms, mighty like the strength of thunderbolts, signifying immense strength. And at once a thought passed through the crowd. Are the mountains cracking, or is the earth splitting? Or is the sky echoing the jostle of heavy clouds? Then the spectators turned towards the gate. Meanwhile, the Pandavas had taken their stance around Drona, and the Kauravas and Ashwadhama around Duryodhana. Karna then strode in, even as the wonder-struck spectators made way for him. The hero, glorious in his congenital armor and earrings, bow in hands and sword at his waist, entered the arena like a massive mountain on the move. O monarch Karna, the splendorous issue of Surya, the son of Kunti, stood towering in all the countless accomplishments like a golden palm tree. The mighty warrior took in the whole scene with his eyes and bowed with sad respect to Drona and Kripa, while the vast assembly, restless in their curiosity, yet still with astonishment, thought, who could this be? And the offsprings of the sun, unaware that Arjun was his brother, said to him in a thundering voice, O Arjun, do not exult over your feats. I shall perform each one of them with a fine excess. O monarch, no sooner had Karna spoken that than the spectators were upon their feet, propelled by some machine as it were. Duryodhana was pleased and Arjun embarrassed and angry. Then Karna, with permission from Drona, did all that Arjun had done before. And delighted, Duryodhana held Karna close and said to him, Welcome, O mighty warrior. It is my good fortune that you are here with me. I am at your command, and the kingdom of the Kurus yours to enjoy. Karna replied, I take your words as already fulfilled. I long for a bout with combat with Arjun. Duryodhana said, Partake of the good things of life with me. Be good to your companions and bring down your foot on your enemies. Feeling disgraced, Arjun said to Karna, who stood like a rock amongst the brothers, O Karna, slain by me in combat, you shall gain the realm reserved for trespassers and for baggarts. Karna replied, Why spar with words like the weak? Let your arrows speak for you, and I shall sever your head with my arrows under the very watchful eye of your guru. Permitted by Drona and embraced by his brothers, Arjun stepped forward for the fight, and Karna readied his bow and arrows. Then with streaks of lightning and the radiant bow of Indra, dark clouds covered the sky, and perceiving Indra watching the arena with affection, Surya scattered the clouds around him, and Karna was brilliantly visible under a benign sun, while Arjun stood shaded by the clouds. Beside Karna were Duryodhana and his brothers, while Drona, Kripa and Bhishma were with Arjun. The entire assembly, including the women, was divided. Kunti, aware of the facts, fell unconscious, and Vidur, with the help of her maids, revived Kunti by sprinkling aromatic water on her. On regaining consciousness, Kunti saw her two bellicose sons and became agitated. Then Kripa, who knew well the rules of duels, surveyed the contending warriors ready with bows and arrows, and said to Karna, The Pandav here is the third son of Kunti and is of the Kuru race. He will engage you in a duel, but you tell us of which royal line you are and who your father and mother are. And then Arjun may or may not choose to fight with you. Princes never fight with men of inferior descent. Karna's face fell as Kripa's words like a lotus flower wilting under pelting rain. And Duryodhana said, "It is averred that men of noble descent, men of valor and men who command armies can aspire to kingship. If Arjun will not fight one who is not a king, I shall crown Karna king of Anga." And at that very moment, Karna was installed on a seat of gold and crowned king of Anga, with ceremonial grains and flowers by men who knew the mantras, and the royal umbrella was raised over his head like a burst of cheers of approval. Then Karna said to Duryodhana, "What matching gift can I give you in return for your kingdom donated to me?" And Duryodhana said, "I look forward to your staunch friendship." And Karna happily said, "So be it." And happy at the turn of events, the two embraced each other. And then came Adhirath on the scene with his clothes all askew, supporting his trembling, perspiring self on a staff. As soon as Karna saw him, he left his weapons and in filial piety bowed his head, which was still wet from anointing. "My son!" The charioteer held his foster son close and shed tears of joy. Bhima, watching the events, took Karna to be the charioteer's offspring and said in words of slight, "You, O son of charioteer, deserves not death at the hands of Arjun. Go and take the whip in keeping with your station. Neither are you worthy of reigning over Anga, even as a cur is not worthy of partaking the sacrament by the sacrificial fire." When Karna heard this, he drew a deep breath and with lips quivering ever so little, shot a glance at the sun and the sky. Duryodhana then rose up in rage like an elephant in rut and roared, "O Bhim! Such words do not become you. Might is the prime virtue of a Kshatriya. The origin of heroes like the source of river remains mysterious. The origin of the matchless warrior, our Guru Drona, is to be sought in a water pot and of Kripa in a clump of reeds. And O Pandavas, I know the story of your birth. 'Tis Karna here, who along with his congenital armor bears at every auspicious state, deserves to be the king not only of Anga, but of the whole world. If anyone here finds my doings for Karna intolerable, let him mount on his chariot and bend his bow to fight. Give me a fight." Then a diffused murmur of approval rose, pervading the vast assembly, and with it the sun went down. Duryodhana took Karna's hand and led him away, his path lit by countless lamps. And O monarch, the Pandavas, along with Drona, Kripa and Bhishma, returned to their homes. The people too came away, some claiming victory for Arjun, some for Karna, and some for Duryodhana. Kunti was secretly pleased as she recognized in the newly crowned king of Anga her son Karna. And Yudhishthira came away with the firm belief that Karna was the archer par excellence. As for Duryodhana, Arjun no longer remained a threat to him because he was reassured by Karna's friendship. Perceiving the Pandavas and the Kauravas to be complete warriors, Drona thought the time had come to demand the teacher's dues. And O monarch, he said to them one day, "I demand as my fee Drupada, the king of Panchal, overcome in battle and brought to me." Acceding to the demand, the pugnacious princes marched out accompanied by Drona. They fought the Panchals in their way and surrounded the capital of Drupada. When Arjun saw Duryodhana and his brothers and Karna and Yuyutsu vying with one another to lead the attack, he said to Drona, "They will not be able to seize Drupada in battle. We shall move in when they have expended their energy." And Arjun and his brothers waited outside the citadel. The other princes, speeding in their chariots at the heels of the cavalry, broke into the city and thundered up the streets. Meanwhile, the king of the Panchals, hearing the rumble and eyeing the marching army, came out of his palace accompanied by his brothers. And assailing the Kurus from his white chariot, bombarded them with a volley of arrows. Then Duryodhana and his brother Dushansa stung the quick showered arrows upon the enemy. The mighty bowman Drupada, though lacerated, retaliated with force. Coursing through the battlefield like a wheel of fire, Drupada shrouded Duryodhana, Karna and other princes with arrows. Though he was fighting single-handedly, O monarch, the rapidity with which he moved struck terror among the Kurus. They thought they were fighting not one, but many Drupads. The sharp arrows of the king came fast and fierce till the Panchals in their homes beat the drums and blew the conches of victory. All the citizens, young and old, rushed out, and they added their leonine roll to the resonance of their bowstrings as they fell upon the Kurus. And the battle-scarred Kauravas came wailing to the Pandavas. When the Pandavas heard the terrible lament, they saluted Drona and mounted their chariots. Then, keeping Yudhishthira out of the battle, Arjuna commissioned Nakul and Sahadev to defend his chariot wheels, while Bhima, always at the forefront, stood mace in hand. Accompanied thus by his brothers, Arjuna rushed forth at his enemy, filling the land with the rumble of his chariot. Bhima broke into the Panchal ranks like a mighty fish plunging into the ocean waves, and he went straight to the troop of elephants to kill them with his mace. Meanwhile, Arjuna, intent on pleasing his guru, moved towards Drupada, shooting arrows at him ceaselessly. Then the Panchals, roaring like lions, attacked Arjuna from all sides. With his enraged by the shouts, he stifled them with his never-ending arrows. O monarch, the battle became terrible and wondrous. If there was a gap between the aiming and dispatch of Arjuna's arrows, the observers missed it. Cheering sounds mingled with those of challenge. Then the king of Panchal raced towards Arjuna like Shambhar, the Asur, did towards Indra in days of yore, even as Drupada covered Arjuna with arrows. The Pandav prince cut the king's bow and his flagstaff into two, and felled his horses and charioteer with 5 arrows. As the king stood groping for another bow, Arjuna abandoned his own, unsheathed his sword, and roaring like a lion, leapt out of his chariot onto that of his enemy and captured him. Seeing this, the Panchal army fled. Arjuna, who had proved his might to all, let out a roar of triumph and made his return. The princes, seeing Arjuna returning thus, began to slay Drupada's men. Then Arjuna said, Drupada, the valiant king, is related to the Kuru heroes. Therefore, Bhim, do not kill his soldiers. Let us go and pay our Guru Dakshina. O monarch, when Arjuna restrained him, thus Bhima turned back through his yearning for battle remained unfulfilled. And the princes then offered the captive king to their guru. Drona, seeing Drupada captive, indigent and humiliated, and remembering the king's earlier ignorance, said, I have laid desolate your kingdom and capital. Your life is at the mercy of your foe. Will you revive an old friendship? With a slight smile, he continued, we Brahmans are ever forgiving, and my affection for you is always nurtured by our days of childhood fun in the ashram. Therefore, king, I seek your friendship once again. I am now giving half your kingdom back to you as a gift. A king, it was said, could have only another king as his friend. That was why I strove for your kingdom. All the territory to the south of Bhagirathi shall be your kingdom, and all that to the north shall be mine. And I shall remain your friend if you choose it to be so. Drupada seethed within, but replied, Oh, such magnanimity in one who is valiant and noble like you is not surprising. I am pleased with you, and wish to have your lasting friendship. After this, O monarch, Drona released the king and presented him with half his kingdom. Drupada, sad in mind, chose to stay in the city of Kampilia in their province of Makandi and ruled over southern Panchal up to the river Charmanvati. Then, convinced that his Kshatriya might was no match against Drona, Drupada wandered all over the earth with this hope of obtaining a mighty son. And Drona reigned over the land named Achitrar, the land won by Arjuna in war and bestowed upon his guru, with its towns and populace. Thus ends the 6th session of our rendering of Vaishnampayan's recital of Vyasa's immortal Ityasa, the Mahabharata. Stay tuned for Mahabharata chapter 7, which is called The Conspiracy. Please subscribe to this channel, like, share this video. Thank you.